they didn't discover it because they caught it. They discovered it because the ransomware bomb went off.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like you're sitting at home and you hear the front door slam. That's when you know somebody's in the house. That's too late.
Help me with hip-hop. Let's get it right. Protect your patience. Day and night. Donna and David, the experts on your side. Help me with hip-hop. Let's get it right.
This week, we were going to talk about when ransomware hits and your business quits. Among other things. So, yeah, we're going to cover a couple stories about ransomware that's happened and the practice has shut the doors because of it. So you understand the seriousness of what's going on out there, and you may not be in a position to handle the fallout. And then we'll move on from that. We'll talk about an ecology group that's got some crazy stuff going on.
Big time.
And then we'll end that with talking about the ROI and how to quantify it, the ROI of cybersecurity products. And maybe you should do a little bit of an assessment about what you have, because it makes a massive difference when something bad happens.
Yeah, we're going to give you examples first and then explain what you should do differently in the end.
Yeah. All right. So let's first talk about the ransomware attack that shut the doors for Alpha Medical Center, which is pretty close to you. Was close to you.
It's in Alpharetta. So that's on the north side of Atlanta. As always, we don't have to go far to get information about stuff happening.
Mm-hmm.
But you picked it up in the article, databreaches.net. It's got an article on it with a lot of details. But if you go to their website, it has on their page, like you go to the website for Alpha Medical Center, and it just pops up. We're deeply saddened to share that Alpha Medical Center has been a victim of a serious cybersecurity attack as a result of this criminal act and its devastating impact. We have no choice but to close the practice. And then they put that out there April 4th, close the practice April 18th. If you are an existing patient, you will soon receive an email and or a letter with more details, and read our full legal announcement here. Thank you for allowing us to serve you 12 plus years. So we're not talking somebody who's just in business.
Mm-hmm.
They've been around long enough. But we have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
We have a lot of questions about that. And the article does go on to talk about something, another business in the UK that had been around like a really long time and closed their doors because somebody had a really bad password and they were able to guess their password and attack that company and shut it down. Similar thing.
I looked at that one. It wasn't healthcare, but I think they've been around like 158 years.
Yeah. It's ridiculous how long. And they had to shut down the business, and it was all because they didn't have MFA and they had crappy passwords. But this Alpha Medical Center here, if you've been around 12 plus years, and if you are following HIPAA the way you should, you shouldn't be shutting down. And that's another reason HIPAA exists, by the by. As we've said before, cyber safety is patient safety. Dude named Greg just told us that on an interview.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, his comment about, we have no choice but to close the practice. All your choices before the incident is really what matters. And if you made the wrong choices then, that's why you don't have any other choice now.
Mm-hmm. I feel bad for their employees and their patients, and yes, it is a criminal act. But the question is, what choices did you make left of boom? Because that is the key to, and this is why we also say, doesn't matter the size of your business. if you're going to ignore these cybersecurity requirements because they cost too much, they take too much time, whatever you want to call it, you're basically allowing that, okay, well, we're going to shut our business down because that's what's going to happen. And it's like you've invested 12 plus years in a business and one cyber attack shuts you down.
Yeah. And the other thing to consider too is just because you decide to shut the doors, I mean, you could say, well, we're just not going to pay the ransom, we'll just close. But that doesn't absolve you from the legal fallout, the regulatory fallout, all that's still coming.
Yeah, that doesn't go away because you close the doors. Not
Right.
at all. And they're not closing simply because ransomware is a thing. They're closing because they weren't prepared for it and they didn't know how to bounce back.
Yeah.
Or they couldn't
Or they
bounce
couldn't.
back.
Yeah, they couldn't.
Yeah.
They had no choice. They said it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's bad. And this is part of the conversation to be had. Like I've told some people recently, I'm like, even if you don't care about protecting the data and you don't care about patient safety, which I know people are like, oh, of course I do. But do you care about your mission? Do you care about your livelihood? Do you care about what you've built?
Yeah.
If you care about any of that, throw in anything you want. But all of that is what gets protected when you're following HIPAA and hiccup and privacy and security and all those things. It's not just let's protect the data. It's like, let's keep you in business so you can serve the community.
Right. You've got employees, you've got, people in the community that are counting on you to be there. And, and when it comes to your business, you and I are both business owners. And I used to work with a lady. She was funny. She would always say, don't call my baby ugly. And my business is my baby,
Right.
And you can say what you want. You can say it's, you don't like my product, but don't call my baby ugly. It's not ugly. It's just not for you, kind of thing. And that's the pride that people have in their businesses. And you have to realize that if you're not doing these things, then you are basically saying to me and you and people that get this, I don't really have pride in my business. It's okay if it goes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing I've had to start doing, because you and I probably care a lot more about privacy and security than other folks. In fact, I think you've been told that before.
Yeah. Yeah. Clearly you take this more seriously than we do.
Right. I think that was what somebody told you once. But here's the thing is, honestly, for my mental health, I've had to start really saying to some folks, I can't care more about your business than you do.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. Like if you're a doctor and if somebody's not taking their health seriously, as the doctor, you're like, well, I can't care more about your health than you do. Mm-hmm. I can't do it. And it's the same thing here. Like we just can't. We come on here every single week to give you all this information to try to help you understand the gravity of the situation. But ultimately we can't make you do it. And we can't care more than you do about it.
Exactly. And then, so to take it a step further, let's say that you do survive and your business is still up and running after a ransomware attack.
Okay.
Like, for example, Highlands Oncology Group in Arkansas.
Good segue. Yeah, this one is like, we were looking at it and then all of a sudden, like near the end of the article, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. They're a repeat customer.
Yeah. So it's not their first round. They are now on the good customer list with the ransomware gangs.
Yeah.
And we've tried to tell people, that there's a lot of things that happen when you get hit. And they're going to come after you again, no matter what happens. And this clearly, well, you go ahead, because you spotted this one. I hadn't seen this one, but you spotted this one because of two things. But it really what got everybody's attention is they were out there with a countdown clock saying, okay, Medusa, the bad guys, whoever has their data, and there's a countdown clock, you got to pay us $700,000 by this date, or we're going to release the data. And then suddenly they were gone.
Yeah. It's like, oh, they're not on the you owe us money list anymore. So I guess they paid.
There you go. So,
But yeah, there's a couple things that jumps out at me because there's so many breaches. Honestly, there's no way we can report them all. So I particularly look for things like the practice is smaller because the small people still think it doesn't happen to them. So I look for that. And then I look for other things. And this one jumped out because one, it's a small oncology group. And then I always look at some of the things like, when did they find out? And that's the first thing that jumped out. I'm like, wait a minute. They discovered this on June 2nd of this year, but in the investigation, they found out that this had been going on since January. So I'm like, wow, they didn't discover it because they caught it. They discovered it because the ransomware bomb went off.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like you're sitting at home and you hear the front door slam. That's when you know somebody's in the house. That's too late.
Yeah. See, so that's the fact that the infiltration occurred for almost 6 months. And the only way they found out is they launched the ransomware attack. And this is not your first rodeo.
Yeah. Because then we find out that in 2023, near the end of 23, they had a similar incident, a ransomware attack. And then they said, this is going through HHS and all that. I don't think it's been investigated yet, but they reported it. They said that they put better security and safeguards in place, and the whole "we take your privacy and security seriously" bit. And they did all this. But okay, if they put the right things in place, why are they getting the same outcome? What happened?
Yeah. And that's the thing is, okay, maybe in the beginning they didn't have it because this is not a tiny group, but it's still considered a small business. They have several locations. So let's say that they had some of the things in place and they were able to bounce back. Probably insurance covered it, cyber coverage, and they bounced back. And so that hit happened December 2023. And the bad guys are back in January 2025. Just over a year later, they're back in the system. And so I'm sure the investigation is still ongoing. There's a slight chance it's closed, but more than likely not. And the investigation is going on, and then they get hit again, doubling down. We're going to hear their names again. We're going to hear their names again unless they back off on all of this. They don't seem to be backing off on their enforcement that they picked up on lately. So when you look at these folks, and you would assume they did things. They implemented new technology almost always. In a group that size, I can't imagine their lawyers would have not said, you've got to do something. Mm-hmm. But you don't set it and forget it. And
it's like, well, what did they do? Because they didn't do enough to catch what was going on this time.
So either they didn't put enough in place that would actually notice that somebody's in your network for almost 6 months. And this is a network that has been attacked. And by the way, if you've been attacked, you will be attacked again.
Oh, we've covered this before. Where the likelihood is much higher that you will be attacked again.
Yeah.
Well, the other piece of this is maybe they did put things in place, just not the right things. Which is going to be what we're talking about next. But this is often the case. I've seen this happen too, where somebody says, I go talk to somebody and we talk about managed services and all this, and they're like, yeah, but we have that security in place. I'm like, great. But how are you managing it and then monitoring it and maintaining it and all that? Who's looking at it? Oh, we got that covered. Okay. You couldn't answer the question. You just said you got it covered.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's the set it and forget it mentality that we used to have. If I keep my antivirus loaded and up to date, then that's it. I'm good. No, you cannot be that way. You have to be able, if you're not looking, and likely if they did put these things in place, some kind of warnings were going off somewhere. Yeah. And if they didn't put anything in place, that's different. But somewhere warnings were going off and no one was looking. And like I say, if you're not looking, trouble's a cooking. Yuck, yuck, yuck. But
yeah,
it's not wrong.
No. Well, it's like I say, if nobody hears the alarms going off, are they really going off?
That's right. It didn't happen. Nobody heard it, so it didn't happen.
If I ignore it, will it go away?
But just a point to make, this particular with the Highlands Oncology Group, when we were researching, we were looking to see if there were other articles to give us more details about whether or not they actually paid did they negotiate down from $700,000? But while we were looking for that, we stumbled upon two separate legal law firms saying, hey, if you were impacted by this, let us know. We want to, so there are already two separate ones that we found just quick. And
yeah. I mean, that's status quo now. Like, you're going to get class action lawsuits. It's happening. As soon as there's a data breach announced, lawyers are coming out there trying to find who those victims are, the patients, and they're going to have a class action lawsuit against you.
Yeah, it's happening. So you don't have any doubt whatsoever that there's going to be lawsuits to deal with. There's going to be a deeper investigation, and the fact that most people that get hit while they're still under investigation and they have another breach, it does not look pretty when it's done.
No, it does not.
And they've already paid $700,000 potentially. So this is why, and I think now we can segue on over to this report in Sophos did a while back, where they had a vendor agnostic.
Yeah, because this study looked at 3,000 different cyber insurance claims, and they linked the security tech investments to lower incident costs, which is fantastic. Like, what is it that I can put in place for my client that's going to actually drive results, drive ROI? And the way they broke this down is very, very telling.
Yeah. So they broke it down into 3 categories. I'm going to say the categories and then probably just let you roll, because David has some specific thoughts about these things, because, and I am absolutely certain that you have heard these terms and don't know what they mean, and the people telling you likely don't know what they mean either. So, so there's endpoint protections, and we've talked about this. And it used to be just antivirus, and some people still call it that, but it's way more than that now. Endpoints need more protection than just antivirus, because there's all different ways that the attacks are occurring. But they looked at these 3,000 claims and said, okay, we're going to group them into 3 pockets and run the numbers. So one bucket is they only have some sort of endpoint protection. Interestingly enough, they didn't mention anybody that had nothing. So they must have weeded those out right away. Let's don't even include people that have nothing. So they have some sort of endpoint protection. It hasn't been in place for a year, or that's all they have. Mm-hmm. Then they group it into what is EDR, XDR. I think that's the second group, right?
Yeah.
And then MDR. And they're saying, okay, tell us what the median cost, not the average, but the middle. What is the median cost of these 3 different groups of solutions. So endpoint protection with nothing else. The recovery cost, in the middle, $2.6 million. And that's what the insurance companies are reporting.
Wow.
With the claims. And then the middle group, 1.4 million. And then that is a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
But then they're arguing about the next group. So now, go. Because you said so many funny things when we were just talking about this. So.
It's okay. So let's get into the acronyms. I hate this part. I hate even talking about this with clients because it's like this is where confusion happens. So you've got EDR, so endpoint detection and response, which you can think of it kind of like the old school antivirus or malware software. So you put it on the endpoint. It's a little better than what we commonly called antivirus back in the day. But here's the thing is if I say EDR, do I mean endpoint detection and response, or do I mean extended detection and response, which can also be XDR? Because some people say XDR is extended detection. It's just crazy. So if somebody tells you have EDR, you probably need to ask some questions.
Yeah. Or XDR, you should still ask questions.
Yeah. So the easiest way to think about this is your EDR is like the protection on your computer. And that's it. That's all it's protecting, just the computer. Your XDR is taking information from different sources. So it's looking at the protection of your computer, the protection on your network, the protection in your cloud accounts like Microsoft 365 and all that. So it's looking for all those things, looking at all those things, and potentially is protecting across all those things. It depends because I don't want to get into that, but sometimes it's both, sometimes it's either or, but it's expanding the scope of what it does. And then the last one is managed detection and response. It's so just basically say, all right, now we're going to take the XDR piece of it and we're going to throw in somebody or AI or both. Usually it's both. We're going to throw in people and AI to actually look at what's happening and respond. So some of it's going to be automated response. Some of it's going to be AI response. Some of it's going to be human response. Some of it's going to be all of it. But somebody, somewhere is making sure this stuff is happening. Okay, there we go. There's a short explanation of it all.
A short explanation of the madness. But the bottom line is really what you need is what they're calling here MDR, because otherwise, if nothing's happening, maybe the XDR could have some, but not really, because I don't see that they're adding much AI in there. But MDR is where we're starting to add in the AI being helpful. Is that a fair statement?
In some cases, they'll have like workflows or playbooks or whatever. And it's like, if you see this, then do this. So think about the if-then statements back in the day. And it's looking for things to happen and automatically kicking off a response. Mm-hmm. And it could be that our previous group we talked about, the oncology group, if they purchased EDR or XDR, then that could be we did better security, but yet we still didn't get a great result because, again, the bells and whistles and everything's going off, but nothing's actually happening because oftentimes people are coming into the network and they're living off the land, they're doing other things where sometimes the systems are saying there's something that doesn't look right, but we're not going to block this because it might be okay, but we need somebody to look at this to confirm whether or not it's a problem or not. But if you don't have anybody that's looking at it to confirm it's a problem or not, then it just allows it to happen.
It's like, I don't know, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, is basically what's happening right now. If you don't have MDR, right?
Yeah. I mean, you could block everything and that's kind of getting into zero trust, but that's the part of the issue is that you can't just block everything. There's things that need to happen. And there's things that happen that could be malicious or it could be normal traffic and normal behavior. But it's like, we're not sure. We need somebody to investigate this. And that's where the human element and sometimes AI enhanced human element has to come into play and take a look at things.
And that is called managing it.
Yes.
And, for now, I mean, there's so many variables that can come into play for the cost of a cyber attack. And it could go from, as we've recently discussed, it could go from shutting down the business completely to several $1 million, some of it out of your pocket, some of it out of your insurance.
Yeah. In no case is it going to end well.
Exactly.
It's just a matter of saying, how bad is it going to be? But it's going to be bad.
Well, it's kind of like for healthcare people, they relate better when we make it about healthcare. So consider it that a cyber attack is you're going to the emergency room. Mm-hmm. Okay. Whether or not you're admitted, your health is directly related to that. So your age, how bad was the accident? All of those things come into play to decide whether somebody is in serious trouble and gets moved to the front of the list for the emergency room. Because, you always look around and see if anybody's bleeding sitting there. That's not good. Because that means if you just broke a finger, go on home, yank it, fix it yourself.
Get some duct tape and some popsicle sticks.
Hey, my parents quit taking us for broken fingers after they were like, "You're just going to take that splint off and play basketball anyway." Okay, that's why I have one crooked finger. Thanks, Mom and Dad. But it's the same concept. Is exactly the same of, how durable your business is exactly the same for when there's an accident. Are you prepared to minimize the damage of an accident? Do you drive a car that has no seatbelts, no airbags? I mean, think about how many lives have been saved since airbags came into play. It's caused some black eyes when it pops out and hits people, but those are the things that we put in place. Those are your endpoint protections. And those are the reasons that you're not going to the hospital and being admitted where you've gone through the windshield or something like that. And that's because we put endpoint protections in place and we're making sure they'll actually work. That's it. That's the key. And boy, does it make a difference if you're paying attention.
Yeah.
Because you get a recall on airbags. You get a recall on airbags and you do nothing about it. And then the airbags don't work. Whose fault is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta take it in and get it fixed.
Well, take it in and get it fixed. Yeah. Well, that's the kind of thing, though. That's your patch management. That's your having those things in place. And, the side airbags, when they added those. And, you and I remember, to us, the only thing that saved your life was Mom's arm flinging out to the right.
I still do that, man. I still do that.
How quick is her arm fling out there? Dad would be like, you better figure that out your own self. You got to take care of yourself. But it's a very different world now than it was back then. And, cars are made differently. They're not these, back in the day, you had a car that you could easily have just put a gun on it and driven it into battle because it was made of that solid steel. Right.
Yeah. I mean, if you bumped into something, there was no such thing as a fender bender.
No.
The fenders didn't bend.
No. No, that was just not going to happen. So, but that's also how we have been able to take advantage of a lot of other technology because we've gone beyond that. But there's pros and cons to everything. But the bottom line is, if you're not investing in protecting what you have, i.e., the body, things are going to go wrong. And it is one of those things that we have to constantly look for ways to get people to understand. But this tying all three of these together, where you've got somebody, it appears that they, we don't know, but I find it hard to believe if they had protections in place and backups and all the things that you should have in place, that a single ransomware attack would put them out of business in 2025. Okay. Maybe in 2018, but not 2025.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see it. And then you have the ones who probably made the investment because they got hit before, but weren't paying attention. They clearly, nothing was being detected and responded to if they were in there for 6 months.
Yeah.
So
it could have been, the doctor's like, I've been looking for a reason to retire. I think I'm done.
yeah, there's that. But still, that you can't even recover and it shuts down your business because, criminals broke in. You know?
Yeah.
I'm going to shut down my business.
Cybersecurity it's a cost of doing business now. And that's for anybody anywhere, not just healthcare. It is a cost of doing business. You have to have adequate cybersecurity protections in place for your business, just like you have adequate tax protections, adequate bookkeeping, adequate administrative, technical. All the stuff. It's a cost of doing business. When I ask somebody, what is your budget for cybersecurity, or what is your budget for IT? And they're like, I don't have one. I'm like, what are you doing in business?
Mm-hmm. Yep. You can't, well, let's rephrase this in perspective. One of the things that we've been recently doing is helping a friend who owns a hair salon. And it's not a huge, big business, one location, 7 chairs, maybe 8, doing a couple of other little things, but it's a solid small business. But now they have to have a written information security program, a WISP. They have to have one because they take credit cards.
Yeah, PCI.
So we're helping them build a written information security program. They're like, I don't even know what one is. Well, we already help them take care of the computers, and they can have that trust. And we tell them what we're doing, and we write it down, and they're like, I'm glad you did that. Yes. Yeah. But you want to talk about hairstyles and how to mix the proper colors and what to do with all kinds of those kind of things. I'm clueless, and they nail it, right? But that's what it's all about, is making sure. Yeah. But if they have to have a written information security program and they have to have protections in place just so they can take a credit card, why would somebody that has all of the information that we have in healthcare and all of the potential damage to patient safety, patient care, why would you be okay with less?
Yeah. And it's sad to think that there's a hair salon out there that takes cybersecurity more seriously than some of the medical practices.
Well, that's because they're my friend. Probably has a lot to do.
Clearly, you take hair salons more seriously than everybody else.
Yeah. So, but again, there could be others, but I'm going to assume that being my friend, when you read something about cybersecurity, nothing else is read. It's just, y'all come look at this, So,
yeah. Well, like a cyber attack is not going to probably shut down their business, but they're still going to have major financial fallout.
Yeah, and for them, a cyber attack, I think I've helped them build something that they could be functional, because it's, there's cloud control. Everything is, so they have a vendor that I don't have any say. There's only so many people that do salon software. So you got to count on that. But other than that, here's the example, a good example of what kind of detail you need to think about based on your environment is in a hair salon. It's important to have fanless computers, and you can get them because guess what gets sucked in to cool those, cool everything off is a bunch of hair and it clogs them up. Okay. So the same approach, we put in fanless computers, and guess what? They last way longer than the ones with the fan. I wonder why. And but it's because we look at that environment. This is what we need. And even a small doctor's practice, a small provider like the one that just closed down Alpha in Alpharetta, they should have done a similar evaluation of what should we do in our place.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, indeed. But, if you're trying to do this yourself, this is where that can get you in trouble, because you can go out and buy EDR or XDR. But again, if somebody's not managing this for you all the time, and the other piece of it is, how often is it being managed? Like, is it managed 8 to 5? Is it managed 24/7? Is it managed by your MSP? Is it managed by a security operations center somewhere, or both? Those are all questions to be asked.
Mm-hmm. And the good point of that, the management part, is in that Sophos analysis that 91% of ransomware attacks start outside the standard business hours of 8 to 6, Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
So
change your business hours.
That's a good one. So the bottom line here is that even when they evaluate what insurance pays, so these are just people that file insurance claims.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not managing it, you're having to pay out a bunch of money.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to kind of put one single number on it, if you go from just having endpoint protection to having managed detection and response, MDR, you're talking about a 97.5% reduction in claim.
Yeah, just what you're filing.
Right.
Yeah.
97.5%. It's like, okay, there's your ROI right there.
Well, and the scary thing to me is when it looked at the lowest number on the claim. So they had a thing where it says, what's the lowest? What do they expect to see? And what are the highest ones of each of our three buckets? And this gets back to you saying, well, you can load EDR or XDR, but that doesn't mean anything if you're not paying attention, because the ones that had just the endpoint protection, the low number is $380,000. It can go as high as 1.3 million. Is what it's showing, right? So the theoretical example, and they're comparing, it's $100 million annual revenue for all these different buckets. They're looking at it and comparing it and saying, if you're going to do EDR and XDR, your claim could be as low as 420,000. Okay, so right away, you have EDR and XDR, but you're not managing it. It's not going to save you money. But guess what? If you are managing it, it's down now to $20,000. They expect about $50,000, and as high as $110,000. That's thousand, not millions. Not millions. And all the others are in millions. The high end is well into the millions. And there is the big difference of making sure paying attention matters. You're able to recover faster. You can detect it quicker. Everything about all of it is, if you're not looking, trouble's cooking. You got to pay attention. You have the tools, and the tools could be all, red flags, flashing red, all kinds of stuff. And if nobody's paying attention to all those warnings and actually taking evasive action, it doesn't matter. It's just a waste of money.
Indeed, it is.
Indeed. So there you have it, Mr. Sims. I don't know how we close it out, but the bottom line here is it can get real expensive if you ignore things.
Well, I think we close it out by simply saying you need to look at what you have. Do you have MDR, XDR, EDR? Which DR do you have?
Or do you have nothing?
And and that's not the same as BDR.
No, it's totally different.
I mean, this is why all this stuff is so difficult nowadays. It's like, it used to be so easy to understand what do you need and all that. It's not anymore.
But don't you run into MSPs that don't understand it too?
Yeah, that's part of the problem. We've as an industry, we've made this too hard to even understand from a reseller perspective or an MSP perspective. Sometimes we don't even know what we're getting into until we do a lot of research.
Yeah, you're just looking for somebody that'll do it for you.
Well, there's that. There's a lot of folks out there that's like, don't worry, we got this. I mean, this is what they're telling the MSPs. Like, don't worry, you buy our product, we do everything. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. Maybe not. It's tough. And you start getting into the whole conversation of, do you buy all the tools under one umbrella, or do you buy separate tools that are purpose built and they're the best at what they can do, but they're not all under one umbrella, which means that they sometimes don't talk to each other.
Right.
That's a whole different discussion. and there's good and bad in both, but some MSPs go with the all under one umbrella because there are pros and cons to that. And some people go with the separate ones. There's pros and cons to that, but you got to make sure you're mitigating either way of what you're going to do. So
yes,
good luck, folks. If you, if you need help trying to figure this out, reach out and maybe we can help. You can put us on retainer and we'll help you with this.
I don't know. Cause then you got to ask all these questions and then I don't know, David. I don't know. Maybe you.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. Maybe me. If you don't know, ask ChatGPT. It'll at least give you some answer. All right, folks. That is our show for today. Thanks for listening. Be sure to share this out to your favorite social media site and join us again next week. And remember, for Donna and myself, the HIPAA is not about compliance. It's about patient care.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.